Number 10. Ultimate Imposter. Anybody else get this weird glitch? In the role selector, it showed me as a crewmate, but all by myself with no imposters text anywhere to be seen. Then I get in the game and I can kill people and vent, but also do and complete the supposed fake tasks. And when I get voted out, the game said I was not the imposter. In my own opinion, this is me talking now, Amanda, possibly what is happening here is there was some kind of miscommunication and the game was set up to not reveal whether or not someone was an imposter upon being ejected, which can happen in the game. You can put that as a setting. But it could also just be a really creepy glitch that only really favors the imposter, making it easier for them to blend in and kill. Not even they are considered an imposter to themselves. They didn't even know. They did go on to say in the comments on this post though that after they were voted out, the game continued as the game itself didn't seem to recognize them as the imposter. So everyone just basically ran around for 20 minutes and eventually completed all their tasks. By the way, that's a really long time to take to complete all your tasks. Like if you're just doing that, 20 minutes. Wow.
Moving on to number 9. A player was recording their screen while playing with some friends one day. They had chosen green as their color, but they quickly noticed another player named who was also green, which shouldn't be able to happen. They asked in the chat if anyone else saw this other green, but no one did. Once the match started, our green followed the other green around the entire time, but every time it came to vote, the other green wasn't in the chat and didn't have a vote. The player was super freaked out and even wrote, "I'm scared" in the chat. Hopefully this was just a strange glitch because my next honest thought is probably a ghost.
Number 8. Unbannable. Earlier today I was hosting a game and all was going well and good until this one person joined a few rounds in. We're just gonna refer to them as a bee emoji. This person literally put a bee emoji, so yeah. So anyway, they start asking which of us is female, and since this had happened already a lot this week, I wasn't having it. I told them if they started that I would ban them. They did it anyway. I tried to ban them, but for some reason couldn't. Don't know if it was a glitch or hacking, but I wasn't amused. I tried to tell them to stop since everyone was telling them to back off. They tried to tell me I sounded like I was into them, which I already clarified I was not. And they wouldn't leave me alone when I asked them to. Everyone was defending me at this point and we all wanted them out, but for some reason we couldn't kick them. Has this happened to anyone else? I don't know how they hacked the game to prevent getting banned and kicked, but it was not only annoying and disruptive, but also kinda scary.
Moving on to number 7. One day a person was playing Among Us with 6 of their friends and they were all just hanging out over Discord. They ended up setting their game to public to let some other people join to spice up their game a bit. After setting the match to public, 4 guys joined the game at the same time, which is fine, but then suddenly those same 4 guys ended up appearing in their Discord server as well, even though they had definitely not been invited. Our player moved to their channel and tried to ask them basically anything of how they got there, but 3 of them immediately muted their mics. The one guy left his on, but all that was heard was his breathing, like it was some sort of horror movie. Our player ended up kicking them out and banning them from the server, which really was the right thing to do when placed in that creepy situation.
Number 6. Stalker Hacker. Was playing Among Us with a few of my family members, then out of nowhere some random people started joining us. One with my IRL name. This happened not once but twice, then another. This time with my sister's real life name. Then my address, then my city, then my state, then my brother's name he uses for his online gaming, who doesn't live anywhere close to me, and he wasn't playing with us. But none of this was him. Bunch of other personal things came up as well. It wasn't any of us, I don't know what's going on, and it's super creepy. WTF is going on?
In our number 5 spot. One day a player was just playing what seemed like a normal round until things started to get a bit strange. There was an emergency meeting called and within seconds the voting just skipped itself. Later when a body was reported, the same thing happened where the voting just skipped itself. Another emergency meeting was called and Yellow began spamming the chat with "I am the imposter, vote me out." Our player was about to respond when suddenly they also started spamming the chat with the same message, but they weren't typing or sending anything, so how is this happening? They ended up exiting the game because that was just a little too creepy for them to handle. Maybe it was a glitch, maybe it was a hacker, but either way I'm sure it left the player spooked.
Number 4. Lights out free play. I'm not trying to be edgy or create a mountain out of a molehill, but this afternoon I was playing Among Us free play mode just to try it out and a weird thing began to happen. The dummy players were paralyzed, stuck in one place as they always are, but suddenly the lights went out. I tried to look it up online later as to why this happened, but I found zero info on it or explanations as to if or how dummy players in Among Us free play even have or get AI built in. Following the lights going out, I attempted to fix them, but the controls kept clicking on and off in the panel, preventing them from doing so. I seriously wanted to record all this, but I thought it would take too much time, and as a result, I just end up getting disconnected anyways, as that can happen when you're inactive for too long in normal play. I went to Nav after, and there I found the yellow dummy player dead. That legit scared the shit out of me. I ran towards the cafeteria, but there was no one, and I backtracked towards Nav again, but still no one. I thought maybe it's a bug or something. Just to see how far this goes, I went into electricity again and found another dead body, but the same color as me. I ran to the emergency meeting button to test what would happen, and all the dummy players voted for me. I didn't know this would happen, and it caught me so off guard that I literally forgot to take a screenshot. That's why I want to know if someone else has also experienced such things in free play mode, or am I the only one to experience this?
In our number 3 spot, today we have a Reddit story. This Reddit story tells the tale of a possible super creepy glitch or feature, depending on how you look at it, I guess. The story says that 10 friends were all playing in a room together and they wanted to see what happened if they just sat in the lobby and did nothing. They thought that they would experiment and see if anything different or unusual happened. Maybe they would get kicked out, or maybe they just would have all wasted some time, but maybe it'll be worth it. All 10 of them just sat in a lobby for 10 minutes waiting until something finally happened. After the 10 minutes, all of the lights ended up shutting down and they heard a voice say, "I just want to go home," and then all of their games crashed. This would be creepy even if I was expecting it to happen, so I can't imagine how creeped out I would be if I had never even heard of this before.
Number 2. Anonymous Creeps. This story is more of a collection of screen caps shared by a young user who basically was harassed in-game, and just reveals how truly scary playing online can be in any game. It's not just the imposter you need to worry about, but the anonymity of other players as well. The user revealed screenshots where usernames have been blurred or scratched out, where other players basically ask her age, her gender, and act and behave strangely and inappropriately toward her. Not only her actually, but at times even other players. In one of these, the experience she recalls happens to be the host player asking her in chat, "Are you a girl?" And she responds, "Yes, why are you asking?" They then demand that she date them. After responding why, she found she was kicked out of the game. She claims to have around 700 screenshots of moments like this from playing on her phone. That to me is one of the scariest true stories of all. Watch yourselves.
And in our number 1 spot today, a streamer named Monady was playing Among Us one day and was one of the imposters. He ended up being the last imposter alive with only 3 players left, and it was voting time during an emergency meeting. Monady ended up being able to fake his innocence so well that the crew voted someone else out. After this vote, the game should have ended, but instead his screen went to a kill screen, and then he ended up dying. Some weird glitch in the game made it so that the streamer ended up taking his own life in a super creepy turn of events. There was even an animation that showed him stabbing himself in the back. It's unlikely that a hacker did this because of the fact that he had admitted to being the imposter after the vote was finished, so someone hopefully wouldn't be petty enough to ruin his win at the very last second when everyone already knew the outcome. Hopefully this was just a one-time creepy glitch. Starting off this list at number 10, we have a vent surprise. One day I was playing around and I was not the imposter. When I'm not the imposter, I'm the type of person who loves to go around and just do my tasks and try and get them done as quickly as possible. We were playing the Skeld map and I had just finished emptying the chute in storage, and I went over to electrical to divert the power. As I'm minding my own business, doing my task, unbeknownst to me, one of the imposters was being sneaky and venting around. Just as I finish my task and go to move on to my next one, Cyan pops out of the vent and quickly kills me before I even had a second to clock what was going on. I was obviously rattled by the situation. I feel like I got my revenge when people ended up figuring out that they were the imposter just a couple of votes later.
Hit a 9 Stream Crasher. Streaming Among Us is always fun. I've done it myself on my personal channel and we've made videos playing the game on this one. But the thing is that when you're a huge channel like Disguised Toast, Pokimane, or Mr. Beast for example, people are gonna want to play with you, whether it be to stream snipe or just to say that they were in a game with the real Disguised Toast. This ends up causing many people people to try and find ways to get the code to your lobby. This can be through some ways like trying to get the slightest hint, going to the streams of others you play with in hopes of them leaking it, or even hacking. But the scariest of all comes from when someone just guesses the code, since hacking your computer won't really get them your Among Us lobby code. When someone randomly joins, you start getting a little nutty. Someone leaves to make another lobby, and the others try to figure out who leaked it. Usually the streamer will come clean about having accidentally or purposefully leaked the code, but sometimes the random just guesses your private room code, and that can be really unsettling, especially if you don't know where they came from and nobody is saying that they leaked it. You just kind of panic and point fingers, just like you do in the game.
Moving on to number 8, we have a scan mishap. Sometimes when you have a task that is visibly completed, you want to ask someone to watch you complete it so that they can vouch for you that you're not the imposter. Things like emptying the chute or getting a scan. So one round I see that one of my tasks is a scan, and I think, sweet, this will prove my innocence. In our first emergency meeting before our vote, I ask if anyone will come and watch me scan. Red says they also have a scan, so they'll come with me and we can both watch each other's scans. This seems like a great plan. So after the meeting is over, me and Red run over to medbay and I hop into the scanner. I complete my scan, and now it's Red's turn. Unfortunately for me, in a turn of events that I really didn't see coming, of course Red kills me as soon as I'm done my scan. It freaked me out because I really wasn't expecting it, but that's just a lesson for me to always be sus of everyone.
And it's 7 trust issues. Trust issues are something I struggle with on a daily basis, but that's because I worry about people reporting my crimes. But despite what happens in game, you'll still know the person when you leave the spaceship, right? When you're back in reality. Oh, there goes gravity. And everything back to normal. Unless it won't, because deep down you trusted your friend with all your heart, but they betrayed you. Sure, they had to in order to win, but it makes you wonder, what else would they consider winning? Sleeping with my partner? Taking my credit card information? My identity? The last piece of pizza in the fridge that I've been saving for a rainy day, even though it's been in there for 3 years, but it was mine, Nick. Why the you take it? There is no limit when it comes to trust issues in the real world. Sure, they can kill you in game and it's game over, you respawn and try again, but not out here. Not when you've got only one chance. I've accepted the inevitability of death. Have you? Has your friend? And are they planning something more sinister than you first thought?
In our number 6 spot today, we have a creepy error message. I knew I shouldn't have done this, but I installed a free Pets for Among Us mod in Safari, and I was super excited to try it out. I really just wanted that little green alien looking guy because I think he's funny. I opened the game as per usual and saw all of the regular loading screens. I chose the map I wanted to play and went to join the game. Once I popped into the lobby, I was just about to finally get my little green alien when a message popped up just for me. It is never not scary to get a message like this. I know they're definitely right, and it wasn't the right thing to do for me to download the mod, but when I see messages like this, I honestly just feel like someone is watching me.
Halfway through number 5, real life. What if this were to happen in real life? What if somewhere out there a space mission went wrong and a crew got slaughtered and replaced by a parasitic alien that are now walking amongst the human race? Neil Armstrong could be one of these imposters. I mean, they had to get inspiration from somewhere, right? What if the inspiration wasn't the thing? What if they were hired by the government to make light of what happened on one of their missions? So when they reveal it once it needs to be declassified, we find out that it was all true and we can think, whoa, so Among Us is real? Instead of, wait, so there are aliens that have been slowly killing people for ages and we're just now finding out about it? I mean, it's a question as to why the game got so popular all of a sudden, and I'm not sure about you, but I won't be surprised if homicidal aliens are confirmed in 2021. They confirmed a UFO this year, and while that doesn't mean aliens, it could be the start of what we're looking for.
In our number 4 spot today, we have a locked in the dark moment. So I'm playing one day and I found out who the imposter was when I saw them pop out of a vent. I immediately began running towards the CAF to call an emergency meeting, with the imposter chasing me every step of the way. This sneaky imposter had more forethought than I did because they cut the lights and locked me in an area just as I was about to reach the CAF and call a meeting. So now I'm in the dark, locked in a room, and I have no idea how close or far the imposter is from me. I'm absolutely freaking out and running around, just hoping that they also don't know where I am, or that maybe they weren't yet in the room that they had locked me in. To my unfortunate surprise, they were both in the room and found me and quickly killed me. The worst part is that they also got away with it and ended up winning the whole round. I really felt like I was in the game when I was running around frantically locked inside of this room.
In a 3 dating sim. Dating online is always scary. You don't know the person, you probably haven't met them in person yet, and they could be a 70-year-old man pretending to be your friend's hot mom. But what if that's what you're into? And I mean online dating, not the 70-year-old pretending to be a hot mom. Online dating can be a great tool, but when I say that, I'm talking about things like eHarmony, Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, Farmers Only, Hot Sauce Singles, Equestrian Cupid. You know, all the general dating sites that don't only cater to farmers, hot sauce enthusiasts, or equestrians. Those are all real, by the way, also hashtag not sponsored. But don't date in a video game. It didn't work on Club Penguin and it won't work now. Sure, it might look interesting on How I Met Your Mother, how Ted found a girl on World of Warcraft, but it's not a safe thing. There could be anyone on the other side. It could be someone just trying to steal your data by hacking your computer, or gaining your trust enough to say you just give them your social insurance number. And this happens in Among Us. There have been a couple stories of people finding their soulmates, yes, but there are also plenty of horror stories about how things can go wrong and how some people even get groomed. It's just a bad idea in general, especially if you're a child. If someone tries that with you, leave the lobby. The 5-minute wait time is much better than your life.
In our number 2 spot today, we have a story about voting out the wrong person. This story starts in an emergency meeting where there's only 4 players left. I am orange, and with me there's purple, lime, and brown. Me and lime both know that we are not the imposter, so we're trying to decide if we should vote out purple or brown. We choose purple, even though he is obviously claiming his innocence. We get to the floating screen and the words flash across the screen. Purple was not the imposter, and we really made a mistake. Me, brown, and lime end up back in the cath, and now me and lime obviously know that brown is the imposter. We immediately run away so as to not get killed and hope that one of us will be able to call a meeting before we meet our demise. I get to the button and realize we have no emergency meetings left. Now me and Lime are running around the map with nowhere to go and honestly, nothing that we can do. At this point, Brown had obviously won no matter how much we didn't want it to happen.
Finally, in at number 1, Eris Loris. For those of you unfamiliar with the story of Eris Loris, consider yourselves lucky. Eris Loris was an Among Us hacker from back in around October and November of 2020 who had been hacking lobbies, freezing people, and spamming subscribe to Eris Loris and Trump 2020 in the chat. It was extremely annoying and not to mention scary, because if anyone tried to leave, they would be met with threats of getting their data stolen, their identity stolen, the cops called on them for crimes that Eris would have proof you committed. They were also sometimes just unable to leave the games, and if they did, Eris would be in the next one. It's unknown how they did this, but this real incident caused Innersloth to crack down on Among Us hackers 20 times as much as they were before. It's really scary to see what one person can do with a game as simple as Among Us, where your main goal is to not get killed by the imposter or to kill everyone. Not to worry about the safety of, your family.
Number 10, what's in the wall? I love playing with pets personally, so this one terrified me to hear about for the safety of my little Among Us pets. So worried about what's going on with them. Just want to take care of them. And knowing that they are happy and healthy and not traumatized is very important to me. One person in the game was also freaked out when they noticed their little pet was getting stuck in the wall. Oh no! They thought it was because their pet was actually trying to get away from them, because they were actually the imposter for that game and their pet maybe was able to sense evil. However, I looked it up, and yes, this is a glitch that you can experience. It probably doesn't mean that your pet thinks you are evil or that it is really capable of thought at all, as it's, just a little pet that follows you around in a video game. But the idea that our pets in Among Us are able to sense evil or imposters is a pretty neat and kind of spooky thought. Number 9, running forever. This is a glitch that a player reported where during the vote you can see yourself on the left side of the vote selector. Once the video had finished, the player noticed the camera automatically focused on them, showing them out in the vacuum of space, completely out of the map. They weren't ejected, they were just able to walk through the endless dark void, walking out among the dotted collection of stars. How does this happen? What does this mean? They didn't know. There is a theory that this might have actually been a glitch introduced for Halloween, as walking in the vacuum of space alone is a pretty frightening concept. concept. And before we move on to our next point, just a reminder that you are not alone, because we are here to talk about gaming with you all the time, and if you want to support us, you can do so by giving this video a thumbs up, or clicking that subscribe. Why not? It's a nice thing to do, and for those who already have done those things, thank you so much. Number 8, the horror game. Among Us has become such a panic-inducing and paranoia-inciting game that it has inspired people to wonder about what other kinds of games could be created involving this premise. Not only can you play Among Us online, but also fan-made games that offer a more standard horror version of this game's experience, recreating Among Us as a first-person horror survival game, rather than a deception game. Lynx4 even decided to feature one of these indie horror games that have popped up on his channel, where he played a crewmate armed with a wrench who could actually see the others ejected outside and dead bodies in the ship. In fact, he also found out that apparently there's like a bunch of different weapons you can use in that game. It's pretty crazy, actually. This game was also full of jump scares, so it proves to be a pretty scary experience. Number 7, the darkness. This is a glitch players have experienced in Among Us where you can't see anything around you. There's no backdrop, everything is black, and it almost looks like you're just moving around in a dark void or floating in endless space, except that you have a shadow and there's no stars and you can still see, everyone else. Many have theorized that this is actually a glitch that happens when someone in your game is trying to get into personal files in your computer through the game. That what you are seeing is them attempting to bypass the game to gain access to your personal information. Now, it's more likely that this is just a glitch or a hack that is harmless, as hacking someone's personal info through Among Us or any game seems impossible, or at the very least extremely improbable, but it's still terrifying to think about. Don't take my personal information. I don't want people to know my favorite color. It's a secret. Number 6, meet me in storage. This is an experience that a friend of mine had where they received a private message somehow mid-game where someone had asked them to meet them in storage. They were curious as to how they even received this message, so they decided to go investigate. Cautiously, they made their way to storage. The player who had sent the message was there, and they wondered if maybe they just wanted some security when it came to doing their tasks, a little bit of backup, and they were still curious though as to how the other player even sent the message. They were trying to figure out kind of how to inquire without being able to actually talk when the player surprised them, killing them, murdered them in cold blood, and wandered on. And Among Us, if someone tells you to go somewhere, whether or not if you know how you got that communication, probably don't do it. Number 5, mystery clone. This is an experience that a player had where they noticed every time someone jumped into a game or left a game, a weird ghost clone would glitch on the screen. Can you see it? You really need to slow down the video to even notice the glitch. Why does this happen? Is it a hack? Is this an actual player doing this, or is it just a glitch? Sometimes when the character appears, they will also have a username over their head that is just 3 question marks. But you have to be quick to even read that, as like I said, they only appear for a split second whenever a new player joins the game or whenever a player leaves the game. Number 4, fell out the window? Normally when you play Among Us, you are ejected from the airlock if you're voted out, and this is the only way to be removed from the game. But one player experienced a glitch where the imposter who killed them managed to somehow throw them out of a window. Instead of a body being left behind like it normally would be in the game for other crewmates to discover and report, this player said they watched as their avatar floated out through space. It also looked like the crewmate was convulsing, as though it was suffocating, but this could just be a part of an animation glitch that existed within this strange experience. They also didn't turn into a ghost, and they saw their own death animation that instead of showing them being stabbed or eaten, it was simply showing them being thrown out of a window. How do you throw someone out of a window in space though, without avoiding any negative repercussions for yourself or for the ship? Well, I have no idea, but it's a video game, so I guess it can just happen. Maybe? Number 3, my friend the Imposter. You might think this story is crazy, but this player insists that they weren't imagining anything and that it's all true. They were playing a game of Among Us with 3 of their friends online. Another friend reached out on Discord after they'd played a few games already and asked to join them. They shared the code and told everyone that their friend would be joining. Everyone was cool with it, but a few friends asked to leave, so they decided to open up the game to the public once their friend had successfully been added to the lobby to, fill in the gaps. recaps of the people that were leaving. The game played through as normal, and the player got the role of imposter along with their friend, who they'd recently added. This would be fun, they thought. But then, partway through the game, they were watching cams when they noticed that their friend just disappeared. They saw them on cams, and then they saw them poof, they were gone. When a body was reported later on, they noticed their friend was not in the meeting. But when they asked about it, no one remembered them ever joining or playing. They had never seen this person and didn't remember in the chat being asked about the friend joining. Now the weird thing is a friend actually had a screen cap of that chat to prove after the game that that had never been a question that had even been asked, even though the player remembered typing it and entering it. And even though this player still had the message from their friend on Discord asking to join in. When they followed up with the added player to see, what had happened, they said that the message that was sent there on Discord was never actually sent by them, and that they actually hadn't joined that game or even been online at the time that it was played, and the message had been sent. Number 2. Jump scare death. This is a weird animation hack that few players have reported. When you die, instead of seeing the normal animation of being stabbed, shot, eaten, or having your neck snap, a few players have reported suffering a loud jump scare. When you are playing a game where you are not expecting any jump scares, obviously this can be super terrifying. One person even claimed they fell off their chair and they almost broke their laptop which they were playing on. The jump scare apparently seems to take inspiration from Five Nights at Freddy's, resembling that game franchise's style of jump scare animation. Number 1. Invisible Imposter. Probably one of the most horrifying experiences that you can have in a game. This is a glitch I've seen accessed on free play, but I've never personally experienced it in the game. One player, however, said that they had. In other words, they themselves were murdered by an invisible and completely unseen imposter somehow. At the beginning of the game, Pink apparently was completely visible, seen running around, but partway through, when a meeting was called, they didn't see them standing around the table with the rest of the crew, nor after the meeting finished did they appear to be there. They thought perhaps something had happened and maybe the player had dropped, even though they didn't seem to be dead in the meeting and they were still alive. It wasn't until it was too late that they realized the imposter had somehow hacked the game to turn themselves invisible. They learned of this when they were killed randomly and saw Pink as the culprit in the animation, and could only assume that the imposter player had been wandering among them unseen for most of the game.